Last night, we saw more rioting in various cities across this country, and I believe Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Kenosha, these various areas, it's the worst we have ever seen. Now, I said that yesterday. For those that are following what's going on with the now Jacob Blake riots, a man, several armed individuals, leftists, were pointing guns at, or I should say at least one of them was pointing a gun at a sheriff's vehicle. You then hear gunshots, the camera pans, and there's the guy. He's got his gun, raising it up. Someone runs over to him. It sounds like he fired at this armored sheriff's vehicle. We don't know for sure, but it's been reported at least, shots were fired. I mean, you can hear it in the video. Now we have more coming out from yesterday. We know more about what happened with this guy, Jacob Blake. He was apparently fighting with cops before he tried fleeing, getting into his car before getting shot. We've got an update now that Jacob Blake is paralyzed from the waist down, but he survived. We've got several videos coming out of the riots last night, and I'm telling you, it's the worst we have ever seen. In one video, they say, families are trapped in burning buildings in Kenosha. I don't know if this is true. It's not confirmed. But in the video, you hear someone say, it says Kenosha, Wisconsin in the bottom left. Someone says there are people trapped inside or something to that effect. Not confirmed. For all I know, it's a random video from a fire from several years ago. But I'm highlighting this just because it's got 1.8 thousand retweets and comments. And I want to stress, so far, I have not been able to confirm that people are trapped, that people were trapped in the building, but it is going around. And I think it's important to say this may be true, may not be, we don't know, but we do know for sure multiple buildings were set on fire during second night of unrest in Kenosha. Now, I'll tell you what the most alarming thing to me is, and it's this video right here. Special Agent Vitti just says Milwaukee. That's it. But in this video, I can't play it. You have to pull it up, and I mean it. You know why? Several people are pulling over. Apparently, they're Black Lives Matter, affiliated. I don't know. You call them whatever you want to call them. I don't know if you want to call them extremists, protesters, whatever. The point is, several individuals pull up, park their cars, and a guy in a house across the street comes out with a gun, and it sounds like he fires a warning shot. Then you hear this guy say, "They're shooting at us." You hear someone yelling, "We're leaving, we're leaving. You don't need that," or something to that effect. Then you hear several shots, and it sounds like the vehicle where the guy's filming gets hit, and they hit the ground. If this is, assuming this is legit, and again, I don't know where this video comes from, you've got locals coming out with guns and shooting at these people now. I think it was predictable, entirely predictable. So let me give you an update on the fires. I mean, the story about the fires in Milwaukee and Kenosha, in Kenosha, it's very straightforward. They say multiple buildings were set on fire overnight in Kenosha during the second night of unrest following the police-involved shooting of Jacob Blake. As the curfew was set to begin Monday night, August 24th in Kenosha, the situation outside the courthouse between the police and demonstrators started changing. Police began deploying tear gas and smoke as protesters lit fireworks in the parking lot. You can't call them protesters, man. I'm sick of it. It's something else. They mention around midnight, not far from the courthouse, fires were set to multiple buildings near 11th and 60th in Kenosha. And we end up seeing the story about people being trapped inside. Now, there are some outlets reporting this, but they're just saying it's reportedly because we don't have hard confirmation. And it's very, very important. You don't spread this around until we know for sure. So we may never know. We may not. But always keep a little bit of skepticism in your back pocket, because a lot of people want to spread and sow discord, okay? But we got some major breaking news, and then we'll talk about what's going on in the rest of this country, because we got Portland news as well. But check this out. New footage shows Jacob Blake brawling with cops before being shot as two white Wisconsin officers are placed on leave while police chief calls Governor Tony Evers wholly irresponsible for condemning law enforcement. Yep. And so did Joe Biden. Joe Biden and the governor rushed to condemn the officers. And now it turns out this guy was fighting with them, had an open warrant. They tried to stop him. He reached into his vehicle. So is it tragic? Yes. Is it the fault of the officers? Not necessarily. I say not necessarily, because although there are many conservatives saying that it was justified, I think we need a better system. I'm not going to blame the individual officers for trying to stop a guy who's got an open warrant for a felony, for assaulting presumably a woman. And then when he reaches into his vehicle, what do? There's no good answer. There isn't. So I'm not blaming the cops for this. I would say it's not their fault. I say not necessarily, because I think we have a system where we need some kind of reform. We need a better way to deal with situations like this. And the answer may actually be more cops. Seriously. You send a bunch of, you send out more cops for calls like this, and you have a better chance of securing the situation and stopping this individual from fleeing. What you got to understand about this, this guy was fighting with cops, okay? He's got an open warrant. And now imagine you're outside and you see a guy who's wanted for a felony and you try to stop him and he starts fighting you and then he reaches into his vehicle. So many, the videos that never go viral are the ones where the cop is like walking up to a car and he's like, how's it going? And then all of a sudden the guy pulls out a gun and starts shooting the cop. These things happen. They don't happen all the time. It's rare. And sometimes these videos do go viral. But people will share, these videos go viral because they say, injustice, he was shot in the back. Well, hold on, man. It's just not that simple. You don't know what it's like in these circumstances. They say Jacob Blake, 29, an unarmed black man, was shot 7 times by a white cop in Kenosha. Police were responding to a domestic incident at a home in the area, though the nature of the dispute is unclear. Video shows Blake walking toward an SUV as at least 3 cops follow him with guns drawn. Blake appears to ignore police orders to stop and tries to get into the vehicle. That's when at least 7 gunshots ring out. Video filmed from another angle shows Blake and at least 2 cops wrestling on the sidewalk near the car. In this clip, Blake is seen extricating himself from the brawl and walking towards the driver's side of the SUV. Democratic Governor Tony Evers said 125 members of the National Guard would be in Kenosha on Monday night. Kenosha Police Union blasted Evers for wholly irresponsible statement calling shooting excessive force. The Kenosha Police Department declared a state of emergency curfew for Monday night beginning at 8 p.m. The shooting ignited outrage in Kenosha as local residents gathered to protest and denounce the police. Some smashed SWAT cars. So this we all understand. So this is yesterday, and actually this video has been out, has been flying around. Apparently, it doesn't matter to anybody. Another update we have here is from Jonathan Lemire. He says, father of black man shot by Kenosha police, tells the Chicago Sun-Times his son is paralyzed from the waist down. I'm sad to hear it, but I don't know what you expect. You got an open warrant. You're fighting with cops. They try to stop you. It's tragic. But we're seeing more than just the riots. We're seeing the inverse. I mentioned the most alarming thing to me is this video coming out showing a resident firing at these Black Lives Matter people. Check out this. Armed citizens attempt to guard local business in Kenosha. In this video, you've got several armed men. They're not doing anything. So hopefully YouTube doesn't get mad at me for this because these guys are just standing around. When asked, they say, the person who owns this business didn't do anything to you. He's like, if you want to take it out on the government, I'm not fighting that. If you want to tear down lampposts, I don't care. But this building, the guy who owns this, he didn't do anything to you or anybody else. One other guy says, for all we know, the guy who owns this business is out marching with you. They don't care about that. They don't. And I think they're coming to residential areas. They're coming to rural areas. They've gone to the suburbs. They're harassing individuals. And I've got some crazy stuff to go through. And we'll talk about Portland, too. This is breaking 911. Milwaukee protest leader Frank Sensabaugh, also known as Frank Nitti, says someone in his group was shot by homeowners in PA while the activist group was en route to D.C. events. I believe this is the same video from earlier, but this is breaking 911, giving us some more context. Now take a look at this video. Matt Walsh says, Black Lives Matter scumbags demand that diners at restaurant raise their fist for Black power. Brave young couple retains dignity and refuses. Be that couple. Don't be the embarrassing mustachioed coward to the left who has forfeited his dignity for all time. In this video, and many others like it, Black Lives Matter groups are marching around and going to outdoor restaurants and demanding everybody raise their fist. And those who don't, they scream in their faces. This is terrorism. This is overt terrorism. It's literally what we said we will not tolerate. People burning down buildings, threatening innocent people because they want they want their social cause to be enforced, and they're enforcing it. It's unfortunate, man, but I think we can only expect things to get worse. So please take it seriously. And I said yesterday, I hope you've all prepared, either gotten out of the cities, bought some self-defense, a firearm, something to protect your home from these people. I said it, and then sure enough, we see escalation. The challenging part is the only real outcome, in my opinion, could be this getting worse. These people are emboldened. Of course, every day there's going to be video footage of some cop. You know why? Because we have 330 something million in this people in this country. How many times is a cop going to interact with a criminal? It's going to happen more and more. And then the more this happens, the more the videos will come out. And even though these incidents may be actually on decline, even though it's on the decline, people will see the footage and they'll act like it's not. Now, over in Portland and many other places, we've seen ongoing riots. Check it out. Portland's protest 3 months in, no end in sight. They say in late July, Mayor Ted Wheeler had an idea he hoped would end the nightly clashes between protesters and police in Portland. He texted Sonia Schmansky, a top aide, that he had a plan that was high risk, but he added that the city had nothing to lose. His idea? Tell his police force to stand down. And there it is. No joke, no games, no more speculation. The Portland police were told to stand down. So whose fault is it? Not Donald Trump's, not the federal government, not the DHS. The mayor of Portland told the police to stand down. We got nothing to lose. And then it got worse. And they went to people's homes and they attacked some woman, and they're still doing it because they were told to stand down. It was a move protesters had urged for months, arguing that police decked in riot gear needlessly raised the tension of the nightly protests. Wheeler told OPB he too had noticed a calming de-escalation effect on nights when police stayed out of sight. But the protests soon drifted to the east side of the city, and Wheeler said he was persuaded that the plan was too dicey as protesters began targeting police buildings near homes and residential neighborhoods. I was persuaded that a complete withdrawal, even for one evening, to test the ability to completely de-escalate the situation would be a risk that was too great, he said in an interview last week. We could not risk the people who were in the immediate vicinity. But apparently he did it. He did it. And what happened? I was wondering why it was the cops were standing down. Well, now it would seem, I'm assuming he implemented the plan. I mean, he's talking about his idea to do it. He later said we couldn't even risk it for one day. I don't buy it. The police have been standing down nonstop. The mayor allowed this to happen. Don't let this come to your cities, and don't let it come to the federal government. Could you imagine what would have happened if Joe Biden was president when the Portland police told, when the Portland mayor told the police to stand down? Could you imagine what would have happened? They would have gone to the courthouse, they would have broken in, and Biden would have said, oh, the thing we're gonna do, would he have sent and packed the ICE officer CBP to defend the courthouse? I really don't believe so. Donald Trump said that what we're seeing in Portland is a preview of what's to come in this country if Joe Biden wins. Of course, the left is arguing that, Donald Trump is being hyperbolic and he's dark. Let me show you the reality of the situation. Biden calls for officers to be held accountable in Wisconsin shooting. Yup. Here's what he said. Reuters, U.S. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden on Monday said the police shooting of a black Wisconsin man, Jacob Blake, calls for an immediate, full, and transparent investigation, and the officers must be held accountable. He blames the cops right off the bat. We don't even know what happened. You tell a police officer, we got a situation, domestic violence. Be advised, a man on this street has an open warrant and at one point have been arrested for illegal concealed carry. These cops have to make a decision. Do I go in and try and break up this fight and stop somebody from potentially being hurt? Or do I say, no way, somebody could possibly have a gun, there's a criminal. Maybe they didn't even know about his open warrant. Let's put it this way. The cops are told, you got a fight breaking out. They need help. They pull up. They see a guy here's fighting with them. This guy is perceived, they perceive him as dangerous. Now you got to make a choice. Let this guy go after he was just fighting you. He's got kids in his van. Or stop him from leaving. They tried to stop him from leaving. I don't think the cops were chasing him thinking that they were going to kill him. He starts walking away, ignoring their commands. And then he opened his van and reached in his vehicle. And that's when the moment happened. And Joe Biden blames the cops. The cops must be held accountable. A complete investigation must be done. Here's what, let me make sure I read it again. U.S. Democratic President Joe Biden on Monday said the police shooting calls for an immediate, full, and transparent investigation, and the officers must be held accountable. He did not say We need to find the facts of these circumstances and figure out what went wrong here and who's responsible. No, he straight up said the officers must be held accountable. In that statement, he's already drawn a conclusion. Accountable for what? For what? Excessive? Maybe. Yeah. Okay. That's my question to Joe Biden. When I see this, and I see what happened in Portland, and I see what's happening now in Kenosha, what do you think is going to happen if Joe Biden becomes president and there's a riot in your town? What happens when they come to your house and they try breaking onto your property and you say, not in my town, and you defend your family? Joe Biden's going to say, this guy, look, in his house with a gun, peaceful protesters, lock him up. They keep calling them peaceful protesters. They're blaming the police. A building burned down in Minneapolis. A guy was burnt to death inside. 30 plus dead. And yet they still say every day, demonstrators, protesters, peaceful protesters. Yeah, okay. And now Joe Biden is saying, hold the officers accountable. So what do you think happens when they come to your neighborhood? Do you think Joe Biden's going to have your back? Do you think he's going to say these innocent homeowners in the suburbs? I really, really don't think so. I don't. That's why yesterday I made a video saying, that's it. Trump's second term agenda. I'm voting for him. That's all I can say. I just don't care at this point. I really don't care. And it's funny, you know, I've got friends, and I've got, you know, people, you know, very personal connections, people I've known for a very, very long time. I'll put it that way. A lot of people telling me they're secretly voting for Trump. And I have no problem saying how I really feel and what I want to do. And I sincere before and saying, I'll lean towards it. Now I'm straight up. You know what, man? No. This stuff from Joe Biden is insane. It's absolutely insane. The couple who pointed guns at protesters tell Republican convention that suburbs in peril. They're right. They are right. They are trying to prosecute the McCloskeys, a white St. Louis couple who brandished guns at Black Lives Matter protesters outside their home in June, were given a prominent speaking slot at the Republican National Convention on Monday, repeating unfounded claims by President Trump that Democrats will destroy America's suburbs. Unfounded. That's an opinion. Unfounded. Reuters, that's fake news. Unfounded. They're going to rural areas. They march to the suburbs. They've gone to areas where my family lives. And I've talked to family members. I've talked to friends in Chicago saying I was surprised to see them this far out. They were knocking things over, destroying things in the suburbs. It already happened. We got a video right now, apparently, of a dude in a rural area getting shot at. And they say unfounded. Donald Trump is talking about this urbanization plan Joe Biden has. They want to build low-income, high-density housing in suburban areas. How is that unfounded? They literally want to do it. They're coming to other cities. You know, we got this tweet, Madison, Wisconsin. We got Charlotte protests, I guess, Chicago, a bunch of other cities. And now we can see how it's going to play out in November. Ryan James Gradusky says, C-SPAN caller, a Democrat, just said he was switching his registration to Republican because he's concerned about crime. The calls tonight have been heavily focused on crime and how Democrats are becoming increasingly radical. Yeah, I'm right there, man. The mayor of Portland wanted the cops to stand down. They did. So I'm assuming he told them to do it. What happens when that comes to your town? I don't care where you live. You're going to elect these people who are going to tell the cops to stand down? Look at what happens in Chicago. The National Guard apparently is clashing in Kenosha. Chicago refuses to bring out the National Guard. This was a Monday night. I've been doing this for a long time. I used to go on the ground all the time. Weekdays are always boring. Saturday was always the craziest. And it still seems to be. Because some of these people still do have jobs, some kind of responsibility through the week. They come out on the weekends. Now, because of COVID, because of the lockdown, we're seeing people come out during the weekdays. If it was this bad on a Monday, then I'm really worried about what happens tonight. But I'm showing you this because I think enough regular people recognize the problem of the Democrats and perhaps will vote Republican. It's kind of crazy. I'm at a point where I've said it before. I defer. That's it. I'm done. I announced I'm still not a Republican, still not a conservative, still consider myself liberal. And I think about what Carrie Smith was a guest on the podcast this past week. And she says, you know, she's part of, I don't know if she calls it a group or whatever, but liberals for Trump. That's how she describes it. Liberals for Trump. That's where I'm at. My policy positions haven't changed, but Trump released an agenda and he says ending these foreign wars, bolstering our cybersecurity defenses, going to the moon, congressional term limits. And I say, dude, I will take it. I will absolutely take it. You know why? Like I said, Joe Biden, if they started tearing down statues, burning down the church across from the White House, Joe Biden would say, oh, well, you know, peaceful protesters, just like all the other Democrats have done so far. All of these cities where the chaos is erupting, Democrat controlled. Okay, not all of them, but for the most part, there are some smaller towns that saw rioting. But for the most part, it's these Democrat cities. And people like to point out, well, it's because Democrats tend to control high density cities. And it changes nothing. Then you got a problem with high density cities, I guess? Doesn't mean anything. Why is there a tendency for Democrats to be in charge of high density cities? I don't know. But there you go. Whatever that ideology is, whatever that political position is, it's resulting in this. The mayor of Portland, stand down, cops. Joe Biden, oh, we got to hold the officers accountable. Jumping the gun before anybody knows what really happened. It's just like we saw in Atlanta, morality policing and political prosecution. I wouldn't be surprised if every cop just quits at some point. And that's what they want. That's why Joe Biden is dangerous, in my opinion, because of things like this, because of this ridiculous statement he said yesterday, because he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he's willing to throw the cops under the bus. So how many people, how many officers are going to get that call? We've got a disturbance, man possibly armed, and they're going to be like, no way, I'm not going there. You want me to be these guys on TV? Nope. I'm not going to put myself in a dangerous situation. And the left wants it. They don't want the cops around. Look what they do when there are no cops. They go around smashing and burning everything up. And then we see brawls in the street. That's what they want, to abolish the police. And they're going to do it by any means necessary. And if that means by, through politics, which has worked in some places, they'll do it. And if that means getting someone like Joe Biden in, who's a pathetic coward, one of the worst cowards I've ever seen, Joe Biden. He's duplicitous, a history of plagiarism, lies, and now he hides like a coward. Heaven help us if this man gets elected. I don't think Trump is perfect, but at a time like this, these people must be stopped. They're insane. Joe Biden is a wad of cookie dough, and these people are gonna take him and they're gonna tear him to shreds. And he's already on his knees begging them while crying like a pathetic coward in his basement. The dude literally hides in his basement. I'm not even exaggerating. So let me tell you something. When they showed up and attacked the courthouse in Portland, Donald Trump did not hesitate. He bolstered the law enforcement for the feds and said, we're defending the courthouse, end of story. And they smeared him and they dragged him and he said, that's it. Joe Biden blames the cops, criticizes Trump, while hiding in his basement. When they come to your neighborhood, like we see in Wisconsin or in Pennsylvania, like we've seen in St. Louis, like we've seen in Provo when they shot the driver, like we're seeing in LA, when they come to your neighborhood, who would you prefer to be in charge? The boisterous bully, the orange man saying, we're going to have law and order, we're sending in the feds, we're not going to allow this to happen. The guy who's saying we can deploy the National Guard. We've got federal law enforcement on standby. Just give us the word. Or do you want the guy sniveling in his basement who can't talk straight? That's insane to me. Insane. I think things will get worse tonight. But I'll tell you what, the more it happens, the more I think people are waking up and they're going to vote Trump. And that's why I show this tweet from Ryan. Democrat switching his registration because he's concerned about crime. Nobody wants to live like this. I don't. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.